There's a certain kind of person who enters a room and changes its temperature without saying a word. Not through force, not through performance, but through presence. You've seen them. They don't demand attention, yet somehow they command it. Their eyes are steady, their movements deliberate, their silence more powerful than most people's words. While others chase validation through volume and spectacle, these individuals rest in something deeper, something ancient. They've discovered what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago, that true magnetism isn't found in what you project outward, but in what you've mastered within. It's not about the sharpest clothes or the cleverest lines. It's about the quality of your inner world, the discipline of your thoughts, the sovereignty you've claimed over your own reactions. This kind of attraction doesn't fade with age or circumstance. It deepens. It compounds. It becomes part of who you are. Today, we're going to explore 5 Stoic habits that cultivate this quiet power. This undeniable presence that draws people toward you not because you need them, but because you've become someone worth knowing. The ancient Stoics understood something most modern self-help has forgotten. Attraction is a consequence of character, not a strategy to be gained. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, wrote his private meditations not to impress others, but to govern himself. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest teachers, taught that freedom begins in the mind, not in circumstances. Seneca reminded us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and that mastering our internal reactions is the foundation of a life well lived. These men weren't concerned with being liked. They were concerned with being worthy. And paradoxically, this very indifference to external validation became their most magnetic quality. When you stop performing for approval, when you build your life on principles rather than popularity, something shifts. People sense it. They feel the difference between someone who needs their admiration and someone who has already found peace within themselves. This is the essence of Stoic attraction. Self-possession creates magnetism. Self-control generates respect, and inner strength becomes outer presence. What follows are 5 practical habits rooted in this ancient wisdom. In this video, we'll walk through 5 specific Stoic habits that fundamentally change how others perceive and respond to you. These aren't tricks or techniques to manipulate perception. They're disciplines that transform who you actually are. Each habit builds on ancient philosophy, but applies directly to your daily life. By the end, you'll understand why the most attractive people aren't those who try the hardest to be liked, but those who've mastered themselves so completely that their presence speaks louder than their words ever could. Let's begin. Habit 1. Guard your emotional reactions. The first habit is learning to pause between stimulus and response. Watch someone who reacts immediately to every provocation, every slight, every unexpected change in plans. Notice how their energy scatters, how they become predictable, how easy they are to manipulate. Now observe someone who maintains composure regardless of external chaos. There's a groundedness to them, a reliability that others find deeply attractive. Epictetus taught that we don't control what happens to us, only how we respond. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This isn't about suppressing emotion or pretending you don't feel. It's about creating space between what occurs and how you choose to act. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you don't need to defend immediately. When plans collapse, you don't need to spiral into frustration. When you're disrespected, you don't need to match their energy. This measured response communicates strength. It shows you're not controlled by circumstances or other people's behavior. It demonstrates that your peace isn't conditional on everything going perfectly. People are drawn to this stability because most live in constant reaction, blown about by every wind of circumstance. Start small. The next time something irritates you, take 3 deep breaths before responding. Notice the power in that pause. That's where your magnetism begins. Habit 2. Speak less, listen more. The second habit is practicing the economy of speech. In a world where everyone fights to be heard, the person who listens holds quiet power. Most conversations aren't dialogues but competing monologues. People wait for their turn to speak rather than truly hearing what's being said. When you break this pattern, when you give someone your full, undivided attention, you offer something rare and valuable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This principle applies to everyday conversation. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this true? Is this kind? Most of what we say fails at least one of these tests. We speak to fill silence, to prove our intelligence, to maintain social standing. But the Stoic speaks only when speech improves upon silence. This restraint creates mystery and weight. When you do speak, people actually listen because they know you don't waste words. Your opinions carry more weight because you don't offer them carelessly. Your compliments mean more because you don't distribute them freely. Your presence becomes more magnetic because you're not performing or seeking validation through constant commentary. Practice this. In your next conversation, set an intention to listen twice as much as you speak. Ask questions. Seek to understand rather than to be understood. You'll notice how this shift changes the entire dynamic of your interactions. Habit 3. Maintain your physical discipline. The third habit is honoring your body through consistent discipline. This isn't about aesthetics or vanity. It's about the message you send yourself every single day. When your alarm sounds in the cold darkness and you rise anyway, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. When you choose the difficult workout over comfort, you're building more than muscle. You're building character. Seneca observed that we treat our bodies carelessly while demanding they serve us perfectly. He wrote, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable, but the mind grows strong through physical challenge." Your body is the most honest representation of your self-discipline. You cannot lie to yourself about whether you showed up, whether you pushed through resistance, whether you honored your commitments. Others perceive this too, often unconsciously. They sense whether you're someone who does what you say, who maintains standards when no one's watching. The attraction here isn't primarily physical, though that's a natural consequence. It's the energy of self-respect, the confidence that comes from knowing you can be counted on, starting with how you count on yourself. Physical discipline teaches delayed gratification, discomfort tolerance, and commitment. These qualities radiate outward. They affect how you carry yourself, how you handle stress, how you show up in every area of life. Start where you are. Choose one physical practice and protect it like sacred ground. Let it become proof of your integrity to yourself. Habit 4. Accept adversity without complaint. The fourth habit is facing difficulty without broadcasting your suffering. Everyone encounters hardship. The difference lies in how we carry it. Some people make their struggles their identity, narrating every obstacle, seeking sympathy for every setback. Others endure silently, processing privately, emerging stronger without needing witnesses to their resilience. Marcus Aurelius faced plague, war, betrayal, and the weight of empire, yet he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He understood that obstacles aren't interruptions to your path. They are the path. When you stop complaining about your circumstances and simply deal with them, you develop a gravitas that others find deeply attractive. There's dignity in bearing your burdens without making them everyone else's emotional responsibility. This doesn't mean suffering alone or refusing help. It means not weaponizing your pain for attention or using hardship as an excuse for mediocrity. People respect those who face their storms with quiet determination. They're drawn to individuals who transform pressure into strength rather than excuses. Complaining is easy. It requires no courage, no creativity, no character. Acceptance and adaptation require all three. The next time something goes wrong, resist the urge to announce it, to gain sympathy, to make yourself a victim of circumstance. Instead, ask, what can I control here? What can I learn? How can I move forward? This shift from complaint to agency is magnetic because it's rare. Habit 5. Pursue growth over comfort. The fifth habit is choosing expansion over ease. Most people, once they achieve baseline comfort, stop growing. They settle into routines that require nothing new from them. They avoid challenges that might expose their limitations. They choose the familiar over the uncertain, again and again, until their lives become small and predictable. But there's no magnetism in stagnation. Epictetus taught, no great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. Growth is gradual, often uncomfortable, sometimes painful. It requires you to become a beginner repeatedly, to risk failure, to expose yourself to judgment. Yet this willingness to evolve, to remain curious, to pursue mastery in your crafts and character, creates an energy that others find irresistible. You become someone who hasn't stopped becoming. When you commit to constant improvement, not for applause, but for its own sake, you develop depth. You accumulate wisdom. You build competence across multiple domains. People are attracted to those who are going somewhere, who haven't resigned themselves to who they were yesterday. This forward motion creates momentum in your presence. Identify one area where you've become too comfortable. Find the edge of your ability and push slightly beyond it. Read the book that challenges you. Have the conversation that scares you. Learn the skill you've been avoiding. Growth isn't comfortable, but it's magnetic. These 5 habits work together to create something greater than their sum. When you guard your reactions, speak with intention, discipline your body, accept adversity, and pursue growth, you're not following a formula for attraction. You're becoming genuinely attractive by becoming genuinely better. The Stoics didn't seek to be admired. They sought to be worthy of admiration. That's the paradox. The less you need external validation, the more magnetic you become. Your presence becomes an invitation rather than a performance. People feel safe around your stability, inspired by your discipline, respected by your restraint. This is attraction rooted in substance, not style. It doesn't fade because it's not dependent on trends or tactics. It's who you are. If these principles resonated with you, leave a comment sharing which habit you'll implement first. Subscribe to Anonymous Achiever for more Stoic wisdom applied to modern life. Remember, you're not trying to become attractive. You're becoming the kind of person attraction naturally follows. Walk your path.